Anime Pasadena and AXGB have come to a conclusion, and it's time to declare the winner of the convention battle. I'm your brother from another mother, Evil Aniki, and today we're figuring that out. But if you want to see more of like an in-depth breakdown and me talking about this and bouncing it off someone else, check out my buddy SoCal Anime Events on Instagram and on Twitch. We do streams every Monday night, and this Monday we did a stream talking about the convention roundup. So be sure to check that out. But here is my personal opinion. I'm just going to go through everything as I remember it because I did go to AXGB on Friday and Sunday, and then I went to Anime Pasadena on Saturday, and I went to the after parties for both of them. And let's just jump into it. So starting on Friday, I got to AXGB around half day on 4 p.m. And I'm going to be honest, it was pretty sparse as far as attendees go. There wasn't many cosplayers either. I will say picking up my wristband was super, super easy. And this year, the wristbands were just typical wristbands. They didn't have the RFID scanner in them this year, probably because they lowered the ticket price and they wanted to make sure people could get in faster. And I do appreciate that. They also improved the layout of the convention so much more. It was the aisles to get around were better. I think they had a new cosplay set going on, and it was just overall, a very nice experience. And then they also included the Delta Hotel across the street for some gaming activities, and that's where the after parties were as well. And they made it easy to access to get over there, which was actually pretty nice as well. Because normally it's kind of like challenging to like walk around the streets because they block off the whole front parking lot for the Ontario Convention Center. So usually it's kind of like hard to like get in there, but this year it was pretty easy, and I didn't have to wait in line at all at AXGB. And I'm going to start off with saying, the attendance for people who went to both conventions was very, very different. So a lot of the people who went to AXGB, I will say it was a younger audience. I think it was like 18, 19, early 20s. It was a lot of people who knew the Anime Expo brand, and we were like, oh, I don't want to go to regular AX because it's like $200, but this one over here is like $20. So, it's like 1/10 the price. So it's, definitely worth the value in my opinion. For like 20-25 bucks, get it going to AXGB, definitely worth it, especially for a 3-day con, even if Friday was pretty empty. No, we'll touch on that on Sunday as well. But on Friday night, I did go to the We Touch Grass after party. It was not my jam. I will say I did see an SPJA member walking around with their t-shirt, and they had their like 7-year-old and 10-year-old in the 18 plus after party zone in the arcade section, which is interesting. I don't think they should have been allowed in there. They should have taken their kids somewhere else. It really like kills the vibes when there's just children around in an 18 plus section. If I don't know, and that wasn't the only one. There was some other children around as well. I do think people were sneaking into that section, and just like with any after party, it did start late, so it was supposed to start at 7, but I don't think the line started going in until 7:30, and yeah, it was weird. So they made you get a wristband by checking how old you were, and then once you got to the bar inside as well, they had to recheck your ID to make sure you were 21. So it was just kind of annoying, and the line to get drinks was a little overwhelming. Overall, I wasn't really jamming here. I didn't really know many of the people here since a lot of the people coming to this event, this was their first event. So I pieced out of the AXGB kickoff party, and then I went to the Anime Pasadena kickoff party. It's also on my way home, so it wasn't that big of a stretch for me to like stop by. And I met a bunch of people that I do know. And it was a great time, had a fun time. It was a little bit more intimate, a little bit more kickback like, and the beer was a little bit cheaper. I'm going to be honest. The beer at AXGB for their kickoff party was $8 for like half a bottle, and they poured it into a cup for you. And then the beer at Anime Pasadena's kickoff party was $8 for the bottle. So thank goodness for that. And then going into Saturday at Anime Pasadena, I had a great time. I will say it was very, very crowded. I do think Anime Pasadena is really, really outgrowing the Pasadena Convention Center. I don't know where they would go. I think they just need to figure out how to get more space out of the convention center in general. But I was inside for a little bit, and then I walked around. I met up with some friends. I went to the Thirsty Waters booth with a friend, and I will say they came around with a QR code. If you filled out the QR code and ordered online, you could just skip the line for Thirsty Waters. So what was meant like to be like an hour wait turned into like a 5-minute wait, which was phenomenal. And then let's see, what else did I do? There was also an anime.com booth, which I'll put into my vlog when that comes out. It'll be out early next week. And yeah, that was a really cool booth. They stream Gintama, the new Ginpachi Sensei series every Monday night. So check that out as well. And then I will say the exhibit hall was kind of a mess. They have like 20 feet tall dividers, so it was like walking through a forest. And my biggest critique of this zone is that it was really hard to tell when Artist Alley began and the Labubus and like AliExpress sellers stopped. There was not like a clear division with Artist Alley and exhibitors, and that was a little unfortunate. Whereas at AXGB, they have the Artist Alley off in its own separate location and like a tent outside, and it's very visibly like different. But it was packed nonetheless. It was so packed I had trouble getting through the aisles, and I couldn't really find anyone. They did have maps around, but it's just like I shouldn't need a map. There should just be a lot easier guideposts to get around as well. And yeah, for AX, or not for AX, for Anime Pasadena, I mostly spent time outside filming cosplayers and go to the cosplay meetups. I will say in the afternoon, so from like, I think it was like 11, 12, and 1 p.m., maybe 2 p.m., for about those hours, they had like 4 cosplay meetups on the stairs in front of the panel hall, all for like 3, 4 hours long, and it was really, really rough because just not enough room. They had an outdoor vendor up on the outdoor area this year, and it took over one of the normal cosplay meetup spots, which was unfortunate. So that meant all of the cosplay meetup spots were very, very crowded. They really should have thought this through. They should have moved, one of the they should just move one of the cosplay meetup spots to be somewhere else entirely, so that way you just get a different visual. I mean, I love the front of the convention center, but or not the convention center, but the panel hall convention room place. I don't know exactly what you call it, but I would love for it to be like off on the side next to some plants or something. Just something where you can get a different shot other than people standing on a staircase, because that's the issue with some of these 2-day smaller conventions, is that all of the cosplay meetup spots tend to be like in one location all day long versus like AX or ALA where they're spread out. And yeah, and that was most of my day out there filming. I filmed a lot of people. I did a photo shoot thing at the end, and then I went to the after party. I was there all day. I went to the after party. I will say I was a little underwhelmed with the after party. They had a new band thing coming, uh, performing that they normally have like an emo cover band, which I really, really like. I just wish they would play some anime music. And this year they had like an EDM thing going on with like a new group, and it was a little edgy. They just had a bunch of girls on stage like taking their shirts off, and they gave everyone glow sticks, and everyone was jamming out, and it seemed like a good time for them. I went to the Bunny Lounge. I will say I was a little disappointed with the Bunny Lounge this year. They're going for like this new monetization thing, and I just was not for it. Before it was just I would go in and you could just chill and talk to people, and it was a little bit more quieter and darker. And then they also did a stage show, and it was just really hard to see anything in there. Someone had some camera flashes, and it was super bright, and it just was blinding me. It was really, really rough. I will say, and it was also an extra $8 to get into the Bunny Lounge as well, the Snow Bunny Lounge this year as well, which I was not a fan of. If you're already paying $25 to get into an after party, paying an extra $8, and I was, it was interesting. I don't know, but yeah, I stood there. I was at the after party for about, I don't even know what time I left. Maybe like 12:30, 12:38 somewhere. I left the party was going to end at 1, so I left a little bit before closing time. But I will say around like 11:30, pretty much half the people who had gone to the after party had already pieced out. A lot of people pregame that party, and they just get thrashed beforehand because the lines for the alcohol in the after party are ridiculous. They're longer than the line to get in sometimes, which is kind of weird to think about. And then after that, I went home and then started my day 3 of Sunday being at AXGB. I got there. What time did I get there? I think I got there like around 11:30, and it was it was a lot more packed than it was on Friday. Still wasn't crazy packed, but there was a lot more people there. A lot more, a lot more appropriate for the size of the convention. So I was very impressed. People told me that uh, uh, the amount of people at the convention on Saturday was actually pretty large as well. So I was very impressed with that. But yeah, I will say I went to the Thirsty Waters pop-up because Thirsty Waters was at both events. And the one thing I will say for Thirsty Waters, at Anime Pasadena, it was Demon Slayer themed, and at AXGB it was Godzilla themed, and they had special ice cream, and they ran out by by Sunday, and I was really disappointed. And if you guys caught my live stream with my buddy Hugo over on SoCal Anime Events, you would know I was kind of adamant about missing that ice cream. I was really shocked that they ran out of ice cream by Sunday. That's such a crazy thing. And the Godzilla collab is big right now because it's kind of like a Godzilla month right now. There's like a Godzilla pop up in Little Tokyo, and I did a video on it. And there's just a lot of Godzilla stuff going around in general. But yeah, uh, it was a good time. I also went to the Nikkei cosplayer meetup. I filmed a bunch of cosplayers in general, and just had a fun time. I will say, it was a decent event overall, and I think both events did pretty well as far as attendance and the crowd goes. Now, for my actual breakdown of like the event, so I think most of the people who knew about the drama and who are part of like the know of the convention drama and everything that was going on. I'm gonna say this right now. I think a lot of the community members in the cosplay community or the convention community actually went uh, to Anime Pasadena, and then, as I said before, AXGB was a lot of newer people uh, as well, which is an experience. I will say, AXGB is for $20, it's worth your buck. I think, it was decent. And for Anime Pasadena, it was like what, like 40, 45. I don't remember the exact price. Still a great convention. I will say for Anime Pasadena, you can always ghost. A lot of the cosplayers ghost that convention. You don't need to pay to be a cosplayer and just hang out outside. It is not a thing you need to do. Uh, so you can always go to Anime Pasadena for free, and then just maybe borrow a friend's badge. Because I will say, if you have friends with a cosplayer, guaranteed they're gonna be outside taking photos for at least a couple hours, and uh, so like it's always you can always just like share a badge with another person. That's a great thing about cons like that. I think like Anime Los Angeles is like that a lot as well. So definitely, maybe share badges if you're cosplaying. I did let a few people borrow my badge just so they could get into the con, just so they could go to the cosplay repair station, as it is it was inside, right? And so many cosplayers don't have badges, and I don't know. It's interesting. It's just what it is. But to give you guys a final rundown, I do think both events were worth their money. I think the after parties were kind of mid, in my opinion. Just not worth it. I've been to a lot better after parties in general. Uh, and yeah. I don't know. I do think Anime Pasadena is a little bit higher up on the scale for me. I did hear some vendors in Anime Pasadena maybe were struggling to make decent sales, but I do think that is the fault of the exhibit hall just being so chaotic. Like I said, it was like a jungle in there. It was like 20 feet tall booths just throughout the entire thing, and you just couldn't see past any other booth, and it made it really difficult to even get around and see what was going on. And there was a lot of like third party Alibaba Express. And this is another thing. I'm going to have a video talking about this in general, but I've been seeing a lot more booths just selling AliExpress stuff in general. Even if they are an artist booth, I've been seeing them doing the Labubus and all of the AliExpress stuff as well as bonus for a lot of these events. And it is unfortunate that that has been happening. But I do think they are just trying to make bang for their buck at a convention, right? So if your art doesn't sell, maybe a Labubu will. So maybe just having a little bit of both is fine. But it really depends on the events, because some events will ban certain IPs, and some events don't want you selling Labubus and AliExpress type stuff, and it's a little bit of everything. But yeah, so that's my rundown of the event. Let me know which convention you guys went to down in the comments below. I do think it was both conventions had different audiences. I think they did really well overall. If you guys have anything otherwise to say about the events, just let me know. I do think AXGB really, really tried this year, and I do think Anime Pasadena really, really tried this year. I'm curious to see what happens next year. This is a one-time thing where they kind of lined up at the same weekend, and I'm curious to see what happens next year. Will these events continue to maintain these high standards for what they set themselves this year, or will they kind of return back to their default uh, settings from previous years. I'm always for conventions, improving and getting better and better. So we will see what happens in the future. But that's where I'm gonna leave it with you guys today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.